about the books that I did a few weeks ago. So the first one I'm going to look at, I really, really enjoy this movie, is The Messenger, the story of Joan of Arc. So this movie came out in 99, I believe, and I remember when it first came out, I was about 10 or 11 when it first came out. I didn't know too much about the story of Joan of Arc, but I knew that it was a film I definitely wanted to see. It was probably, what was it, like a 15, I believe it was a 15, 12 or a 15 rating. So it's quite a violent film, but I really, really wanted to see this one. I've always loved historical films, and when I seen this come out with Luc Besson directing it, I know that he's made a fantastic few films. I still love The Fifth Element when I was a kid. Probably shouldn't have been watching that, but I still love Chris Tucker, Bruce Willis, and obviously Mila Jovovich, who's she's the lead actress in Joan of Arc. It's got an amazing cast as well, I've got to be honest. It's got John Malkovich, he's playing the Dauphin. Faye Dunaway's playing the mother-in-law, the Queen Regent. Dustin Hoffman makes a brilliant cameo at the end. Vincent Cassel, Richard Riddens as well as Leia, and I believe the writer Andrew Birkin was the guy who actually played Talbot, the English leader of the Orleans garrison halfway through the film. So, I mean, it's a brilliant film, about 2.5 hours long. This film, I didn't really do too well at the box office, look at that. His budget was 60 million. The box office was just about broke even. I don't even know if that includes any of the marketing as well for the film. But after viewing the film over the weekend, I just found this still really, really enjoyable. It's a very 90s movie. You still get that 90s feel where, although it's not a sober take on Joan of Arc, it's still got that sort of comedy. You've got a couple of comedy relief characters in there. They try to still hit on some of the main points of what the Joan of Arc sort of legacy is built on, raising the siege of Orleans, the prophecy of her maid from Lorraine coming to save France. I love this part of history, and the 100 Years' War, and it's a really, really interesting take I found, was as it builds up through the movie, and you see the impact of her voices, of her visions, and how that then gets translated, and it gets cross-examined at the end within your own mind. And I think that's such a really clever way of sort of critiquing. I mean, there's a lot of critics of Joan of Arc. Did she really hear voices? Was she an opportunist? We don't know. Was it even just one person? We don't know. But I thought it's a really interesting take that they used Dustin Hoffman as the conscience in this film. Is the questioning, the sort of interrogation of her, whether she's, how she interprets her visions in the film. But I tell you one thing that's really, really good this film does, and not a lot of films that cover the 100 Years' War do. They do show the Burgundians in this film and their influence a little bit more. So when she is captured at Compiègne towards the end of the movie, and she is captured by the Burgundians themselves. So just to give people a little bit of a summary, you had different factions within France. The entire war was over a dynastic struggle between the Plantagenets of England and the Valois of France, and there was a splinter part of the family in France called the Burgundians, who they thought that their line ought to have precedence to the French throne also, and that they were legitimate. They sort of carved out their own sort of area between what we would consider now lower Belgium near and eastern France near the Rhine. But they were, for the most part, until the very end of the 100 Years' War, very much either neutral or they were in the English camp as allies fighting against the French. But I thought that showing them in the film, and their influence is very, very interesting, and that it wasn't sort of a binary conflict in which some other movies show this. But I thought it was a fantastic movie overall. Really, really enjoyable. And I think you're looking at who this movie really was for, and I think that's really where it fell down a little bit. It tried to please everybody, really, and tried to hit too many points. I think, even when it did come out in '99, it was a big box office movie. Luc Besson and his wife, which is Mila Jovovich, directing it. A really interesting piece of trivia I found out was that Catherine Bigelow, the movie director who did the Wonder Woman and Wonder Woman 2, she was originally attached to direct the film, and that would have been very interesting to see because she's got a really good track record now. I believe she's an Oscar winner as well, so it would have been really interesting to see, but I think they had a bit of a set to her and Luc Besson, who, how can I say, he adopted some of her original screenplay ideas and incorporated them into this film. And there was a disagreement about who was going to play the lead character. And I think Luc Besson went out because he wanted Mila Jovovich right off The Fifth Element to come in and film for the role. But yeah, I think it's just he tried to hit too many, try to please too many people. This film, it wasn't historically accurate. Really, they were sort of. I mean, you could tell that from the outset. The film was never going to be very, very sober. It wasn't too much action in there. It was probably a little bit more too much comedy relief in there. I don't think when you watch it, it's treated like a very, very serious movie, but it's still enjoyable, and I think it is a product of its time in '99, and we probably do another movie. It's been nearly 22 years since this film came out. I do still enjoy it. I had this on Blu-ray. You can still buy it, I believe, on Amazon at the moment, but let's have a little quick check at the price. Oh, Jesus, that is pretty expensive. So DVD is £16 and Blu-ray is £55. I should actually trade the Blu-ray in and make a profit. But I do enjoy the film, so I'm going to keep that with me. And if I can give you a couple of book reviews, book recommendations, I should say. If you do enjoy the film, it is about 2.5 hours long. I do recommend you watch it. It should be on a streaming service. If not, you can pick that up on DVD, like I say, from Amazon. There, roughly about £16. But I would give two recommendations of books. One of them is by Helen Castor, Joan of Arc. So this is pretty reasonably priced, actually, at $5.78 on Amazon. I would highly recommend you pick this one up. And the one that I got years ago and I've read is fantastic, which is Joan of Arc, Made, Myth and History by Tim Wilson Smith. And that does give some clear facts about what went on, what didn't go on. Some more of the sort of I think obviously history going back about 600 years, there's a lot of it can get incorporated into myth, particularly since she was sainted as well. There is another dynamic, which is you do get a lot of Christian comments on Joan of Arc that are not necessarily transferable to not historically accurate. So I would pick up these two books if you do get a chance. Another tip, I'd probably get the used books, really, $1.70, and then you're paying about £2.7 for delivery. So yeah, but overall, fantastic. I thought the film was really, really good. I still really enjoy the film even after 20 years, and it has got a little bit of work, but still, it's a really, really enjoyable movie. I would say I give this overall 3.5 stars out of 5. Being very generous with that because it did underperform at the box office. So yeah, I mean, if you do like the movie, go check it out, and if you can, I would very much appreciate if you like